Well, how are you? It's a chilly, soon to be very cold winter evening here in Connecticut, and going to be a cold weekend to boot with winds and wind chill and some snow. And it is January, late January and going into early February. But that means it's time for the Super Bowl. And we welcome everybody, our VIP guests, to what should be just one real fun half hour leading into another fun event for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation. I'm happy to help Jane and John, as we call this the pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. Unfortunately, like as if you haven't heard, things aren't happening the last year the way they normally are. So our great February dinner at Mohegan Sun, the 34th annual celebrity dinner, baseball theme's not happening. So listen, we got a treat for you today because with the Super Bowl around the corner, football's made it all the way through. And on behalf of Jane and John Ellis, who are, of course, are the founders of Connecticut Cancer Foundation, we thank you for signing up for this VIP session. Just think of the patients and the families of the patients that every little bit helps. And by you just listening and talking football with us, it's going to help a lot. So thank you in a very, very rough year. There's an online auction. You can see how to do it. I'm still stuck on the on-ramp of the highway of 21st century technology, but you can see how to do it. And there's memorabilia, there's trips. We'll be able to fly and go places soon, and you can donate anytime. So that hopefully is simple enough. And there's a chat room, so et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my good friend Jay Rothman helped me set this up. And I got to thinking, so we're going to have a really great Super Bowl, Super Bowl 55, the first home team ever, Tampa Bay, with a quarterback that might have been to a few Super Bowls before, as in 9 previous, Tom Brady, against the defending champion, Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And so I said, the last time Tampa won a Super Bowl was the last year they won a playoff game until these last few weeks. And that was Super Bowl 37, the end of the 2002 season. Now, who can remember that far back? And then it dawned on me, wait a minute. We know the coach of that team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, that routed his old team, the Oakland Raiders, with 3 defensive scores. And that would be John Gruden, my teammate at ESPN, but certainly better known as this. So if we can open up Coach and see if it works, I can't wait to talk about the game with him and what he remembers and what he sees going forward. So without much further ado, I think we got Coach John Gruden with us through the magic of a Zoom webinar. So Coach can pop up.
What do you say there?
Hey,
Swami, how you doing?
Hey, this is your quarterback here.
I know it. I miss you. Hey, thanks for inviting me to this great event. When you go 8-8, you don't make the playoffs. You have a hard time going to the Super Bowl outings, but we're getting better here. Most importantly, just like to thank John and Jane Ellis and Jay Rothman for making this great thing happen. My mom is battling lung cancer right now down at Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, Florida. So I take this very seriously. We can come up with game plans to pick up blitzes. We can attack 2 deep zones, but nobody yet has come up with the game plan to knock out every form of cancer. That's why I really wanted to be here and thank you, man. But you're looking good, Swami. I just missed the colorful shirts. You must be freezing your butt off in Connecticut or something.
Yeah, well, it's going to be it'd be single digits, I think, come tomorrow night. But, I've got about 30 in the closet, but I thought Connecticut Cancer Foundation, late January, let's tone it down a tad. You're dressed in, obviously, silver and black. And I can go to the closet halfway through and get more colorful if you'd like. But listen, it's good to see you, and good luck with Mom, all right?
Yeah, thank you. What are we talking about here today? What do we got in store here?
Well, listen, I teed you up and I said, I can't remember far back 18 years Tampa won a Super Bowl. And I don't know. Wait a minute. I think I vaguely remember the coach. He was a young guy, and we won't spend a ton on it, but what do you remember as day of game? Super Bowl coach, here you are, and then so many things went right, and then, we're talking about that game. What do you hold 18 years later as the few things that pop up first?
Well, I remember it was a short week. It's the only Super Bowl I think that was ever played the next week after the championship games. Normally they give you 2 weeks. We had to fly all the way from Tampa to San Diego. What I remember the most is, man, I haven't slept in 3 days. I was exhausted. And I remember walking out on that field and looking across the sideline and seeing my old boss, Al Davis, and a lot of the Raider players that I had coached for 4 years. So I was a worn out, emotional basket case. And I'm standing on the sideline, and Celine Dion walks right next to me. And I said, man, this must be a big game. Celine Dion's here.
And it was. And defensive scores left and right. You had some unbelievable players with you, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. And it was awful hard to get to the Super Bowl. What's amazing about this Super Bowl, Chris, is the year before, when I was traded to Tampa, we lost in a tuck rule game against the Patriots. And this was a long time ago. And we lost to some rookie 6th-round draft choice quarterback who was a fill-in guy. His name was Tom Brady. And can you believe that son of a you-know-what is still playing? And he's still playing at such a high level. It's a credit to the Buccaneers, the owner, the Glazer family who hired me. They have a lot of guts, obviously, to do that. But now to go out and get a 42-year-old quarterback, bring in Gronkowski, bring in Antonio Brown, and help put the Buccaneers back in the Super Bowl picture, they deserve a lot of credit too.
Tom Brady, and he can. Looks like he can. Just you as a coach, he can make all the throws still, can't he?
He really can. And I think when you watch him, you realize more than ever, a great quarterback makes the guy next to him better. He makes everybody better. I think his presence has elevated their competition. He's elevated their mental toughness. I'm sure he's doubled their mental preparation during the week. I'll bet their practices are better. I bet they're way more focused because of the everyday leadership that a guy like Tom Brady brings to the team.
You know what's an interesting thing, and then we'll get to the Chiefs and some other parts of it. But so Tampa lost, the Bucs lost to the Chiefs, then had a bye. They were 7-5, Coach. It was the last week of the byes. There were 4 teams that had them. And I wondered then, I said it on the tube, every now and then I make a good observation that this will be the most important bye of the season because given, and you lived it, I know we're already, past Thanksgiving or whatever, but you didn't have the time early. They have so many new players. What do they come up with during the bye to get it together like this? So given that they were 7-5, which makes you pretty good, but now they haven't lost a game since, other than Tom, what do you see in them to give them a hell of a shot here?
I think they looked at their last 4 games and they said, hey, we got a lot of good players. We have 4 games. We should win these 4 games, get some momentum going into the playoffs. Bam, I think that's just what they did. What we're not talking enough with Tampa Bay is their defense. They have an excellent defense. They probably have as good a linebacking core as there is in this league. Number 45, White, or Levante David are playmakers. And Todd Bowles, their defensive coordinator, does a great job with his blitzing style. They keep you off balance. They've got a clutch field goal kicker. They can beat you in all 3 phases. They'll be a handful for the Chiefs.
Well, their defense had better play, and it certainly did against Aaron Rodgers, all the turnovers, and they pretty much held him out of there. And then down on the goal line, decision or not by the coach and Aaron, that's old news now. But this Chiefs team, it was one of the more, and Sean McDermott, you know him, and I've known him since he coached with Andy, obviously, Andy Reid with the Eagles. For him to come out and just, because he's pretty straightforward, say, they were just too fast for us. He said that, not after the game, John, but Tuesday or Wednesday or something. And they played a 60-minute game. They're they are a friggin' handful, aren't they?
Well, all we did in the offseason here with the Raiders is try to acquire speed. We had to put more speed on the field. I don't know if you knew this, Swami, but there's only really two teams that beat the Chiefs. Who are they? Do you know?
I was going there. One of them beat the first team. That
Yeah.
might be the Raiders, and almost did it twice.
Yeah,
And
well,
the
why
other
aren't we in the
beat,
playoffs? But I tell you this, you have to match their speed. There's no question about that. It's hard to do. When you're standing there as the head coach of the other team and you see Tyreek Hill run by you, and then Sammy Watkins, and then Hardeman, and then Kelsey, you look at your defensive coordinator and you say, good luck today, pal. And then when you see Mahomes out there in pregame warm-up, it's really unbelievable. If you get a chance to go to the Super Bowl, get there early, be the first guy in, and watch number 15, what he does in pregame warm-up. He completes passes left-handed, behind his back, sidearm. It's an amazing display of what he can do with his arm. And it's going to be interesting to see how that turf toe impacts his mobility, Chris, because some of the best things that Mahomes does are totally off the cuff, unscripted, spontaneous action.
well, you have him off the cuff. And I'm not saying that Andy Reid is off the cuff, a guy you know so well, but he has that whiteboard in his office that he erases every Monday morning. I know he doesn't forget all the things. He calls it doodling. I said, how many of these things will you use, these 25 things that you've written with Sharpies? 2 or 3, maybe. I'll put them in the game plan, and then next week I'll come up with some more. So the two of them, they're pretty darn creative, aren't they, Mahomes?
Yeah, here's the problem Andy Reid has, and it's a great problem. We're starting to have these problems in Vegas. When you have a tight end like Kelsey, you got to have 45 or 50 ways to get him the ball. And then when you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, you say, I got to have 45 or 50 ways to get him the ball. And they got a great young running back out of LSU. We got to have ways to get him the ball. And then they have Hardeman and the jet sweeps. They have a lot of weapons. And they have a lot of ways to attack you, and they can do a lot of different things well, and that's what's so hard to defend about.
Does Mahomes look? You almost beat him twice, John, but still, him throwing the ball and you're standing there. You talked about it. Like we've had a lot of great. Some of these throws are, I don't know, Brett Favre maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, in my career, I'm 57 years old. I think I've been in the NFL 25 years, 27 years. I was at Green Bay when Favre was a young gunslinger. I had Randall Cunningham, who could really rip it in Philadelphia. We had Joe Montana, Steve Young in San Francisco. Pretty good Hall of Fame players here. I have coached against John Elway when I was coaching the Raiders earlier in my career. I have never seen a guy throw the ball like this. Matter of fact, at ESPN, we did 63 Gruden QB camp television shows. We had them all come through here. Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, all of them came through. And the one jaw dropper, the one guy that really was the showstopper that could really throw the ball was this Mahomes. I wish Mahomes would have got drafted by somebody else, though.
Well, you get to see him up close 2, if not 3 times a year. So does Tampa have the speed on defense to play with them? Like you guys said, you beefed up your speed, John?
I think they have a chance to do it. I really do. I think they're on a roll. I think Kansas City has struggled a little bit in the last few weeks. I think Tampa Bay, if they can play great red zone defense, I know the Chiefs are going to move the ball, but when they get down in the scoring zone, hold them to 3. Make them kick a few field goals, and Tom Brady's going to have to find a way to put 30, 33 points on the board. I think it's going to be a high-scoring, exciting Super Bowl. I just wish we were there in it.
Well, I wish the place was full. And look, you're a Tampa guy. I love Tampa. It's a bummer. You know how much planning goes into these Super Bowls, and it's going to be bizarre, but at least they get a home team in it, which will be, I don't know, you and I should sit on that boat, the Jolly Roger, and watch this game together,
Yeah, it'd be good.
Think anyone would recognize us with masks?
They would not recognize me, but they would definitely know your voice. That's for sure.
I won't say anything.
Who's all in this chat room? I don't see any faces. How many people are here? Do you even know?
I think it's a crowd that equal to probably what you had at your games, about a few hundred, right? How's that stadium, by the way, Las Vegas? I mean, my goodness.
Man, it's great. Let me tell you something. It is spectacular. It's an indoor stadium with natural grass.
Hmm.
It's an incredible game day environment. You open the door, you get in your car, and there's the Bellagio right across the street. There's some of the great hotels and casinos that you'll ever see. Las Vegas is just an exciting place to have an NFL team, and we just miss our fans. We could have used those fans in the fourth quarter when we had that 31-28 lead against the Chiefs, maybe to make it a little bit difficult on Mahomes, because he sees what you're doing. He can audible and change plays with the best of them. We need our fans here in Vegas big time next year.
Well, you'll get them. I mean, they look, the fact, Coach, if you think back to when you had your training camp or such as it was, the fact that we're playing the Super Bowl on schedule, really, if you every day you're in it, even in the off season, kind of unbelievable, isn't it, John?
It really is. And for the people that are listening, if they saw the day-to-day operation of what the NFL provided for this season to happen, they would be amazed, I think. The daily testing, the protocols, the way we traveled, how we had to room with one another on the road, different buses for different people. It's an amazing process, and you have to really give the NFL credit for making this possible with no cancellations. You got to be kidding me.
You know what's a big, and I'll be a little announcer-ish, but a big picture, and then I'll go back to you here on this, John. I find it intriguing. We don't get repeat champs, and the Chiefs haven't won yet, so bear with me. We don't get repeat champs very often. And here's Kansas City and Andy Reid and Mahomes and that offense and Spags and defense. We'll talk about their defense in a minute, but they have a chance to repeat. And who's guarding the gate? But the last quarterback to win back-to-back Super Bowls, albeit, 16 years ago, that's a pretty rich storyline, isn't it, John? I mean, you're a football fan in addition to being coach, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. And I kid Andy Reid and I kid the Chiefs. There should be an investigation as to how they were able to keep this team together. When we won our Super Bowl, we lost 6 or 7 starters in free agency. Kansas City returns 22 starters from last year's world championship team. Mahomes got a new contract. Kelsey got a new contract. Chris Jones got a new contract. I got to see who's putting their salary cap together, because they got the same team they had last year when they won it. And that's a real credit to Brett Veach, their general manager, and Clark Hunt, their owner, for keeping this band together. The Rolling Stones aren't the same without Mick Jagger. You know that, Chris.
Yes, that I certainly do. So, well, maybe they had all their birth certificates. They're all 23, 24. They're all third-year players. Maybe they toyed with that. Maybe they did. Kind of like the old days of finding players, baseball, Latin America. I remember, you'll love this. This is an aside. Bobby Cox, one of the great managers, obviously the Atlanta Braves. And one of his players, all of a sudden, they found was 4 years older than it had been assumed for about 7, 8 years. And they said, Coach, Skip, what? It was Rafael Furcal. It was the shortstop. They said, well, what do you mean? He was 26, now he's 31 or whatever the number was. He goes, well, he's maturing. So maybe that's it. Kansas City's defense is sneaky too. Like, they're not authoritative, but Chris Jones on the line, Frank Clark, and the Honey Badger. Those are 3 guys that can tilt the ball game, right?
Yeah, I wish I had one of my sideline sheets in here. Maybe Jeff, see if you could grab one of those sideline sheets. Yeah, when you play the Chiefs, I'm an offensive coach, so I call the plays. So you got these sideline sheets, you hold them down there. You got 1,000 different plays. When you play the Chiefs, the thing I love about this Spagnuolo coordinator they have is in the back of his mind, he knows Mahomes is going to score 30 points.
Mhm.
He knows that quarterback is going to score 30 points. So he calls an aggressive style of defense. He's not afraid to bring the house. He's not afraid to bring a double corner blitz. He's not afraid to think outside the box and do some things to Tampa Bay and to any offense because he knows he has Mahomes that's going to get 30 for him. But Spagnuolo does a great job with the scheme. It's not common. There's a lot of great disguises, a lot of pressures, a lot of simulated pressures where they act like they're blitzing and they don't rush at all. And then they have the players you just talked about. Frank Clark's a great defensive end. He can close you out. And Chris Jones, number 95, is a great inside rusher. How the heck they re-sign him anyway? I don't know. That really ticks me off. They re-signed that guy. And then the Honey Badger, he reads the quarterback and he makes plays. He's a ball magnet. And they got a good middle linebacker in Anthony Hitchens and some big, long, bump and run corners that don't give you any free throws. So it'll be fun to watch Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, and the guys against a really good, complicated Chief defense with 2 weeks to get ready.
All right, so you're the offensive coordinator for just a moment of the Bucs, and we'll flip it in a minute. You just talked about the Chiefs defense. When we're watching the game and the folks on the webinar watching the game, and where are they susceptible? How will you know if, Tampa's got a good feel for this? How will we know?
I think the key to this game, personally, I don't know who's even listening. Not that anybody cares what I think, Bermy, but I think the key to this game is going to be before the ball is snapped. Tom Brady's going to use all that clock before the ball is snapped. And if he sees 2 safeties deep back there, he's going to hand the ball off to one of these big backs. And they're going to try to slam it at Kansas City and run the ball and keep Mahomes on the sideline. But as soon as they get a single high safety and he knows it's one-on-one, he's going to throw the ball and be aggressive with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, number 14. They got a tight end, Cameron Brate. They got Antonio Brown. They got an all-star roster. So if it's a cover 2 look, run it. And if it's a single high look and it's man-to-man, let it rip and be aggressive. And I got a feeling Tom Brady has a pretty good confidence about himself in these big games.
And the coach letting it fly too, Bruce Arians, at the end of
Yep.
the half speaks for itself at Lambeau, doesn't it?
It sure does. Sure does.
Now flip it. You're the Chiefs and they're magical, and we talked about their speed. But Tampa's defense, underrated, and they've got some players that can change the game to their credit. If you're the Chiefs, I know they had Tyreek Hill had 200 and something yards in the first quarter on that field, whatever it was, week 12, and a backflip. So that will tack that on. That's 2 more yards. Where do you see Tampa vulnerable? I mean, look, Mahomes will do what he does. Where though? Okay, this is what I would look at, John. What are you looking at?
If I'm the Chiefs offense,
Yep.
I would be real careful with the pass rushers of Tampa. Jason Pierre-Paul is red hot. They got this other guy named Shaquille Barrett, who's their franchise guy, number 58. He had 19 sacks last year. They also have this old man named Ndamukong Suh, who can still let it rip in big games. And they blitz. I mean, Devin White has 10 sacks from the linebacker position. In Kansas City, make this note, Swami. Fisher, their left tackle, he blew his Achilles out. He's not in this game. Mitchell Schwartz, their right tackle's been hurt. Osemele, Duvernay, 2 of their guards are out. They're playing with a lot of backup linemen against a really complicated blitzing scheme. So I think they got to be real careful with some of the protections they use. And remember, Mahomes might not be at 100% either, but I look for Todd Bowles to use some pressures and try to create some one-on-ones for some of these great rushers he has.
You say, look, we've said a lot of these playoff games, they're going to be a lot of points. And some of them didn't turn. Baltimore against Buffalo, 17-3. This one, though, if they're both going to get at least a 28, don't you think? Although it's hard to pick a score as a coach. I understand that. But wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what the number is on the game. I don't really do the gambling, but it's going to be over 60 points scored in this game. I think it's going to be a 38-35 game, 34-31 type game. I think you're going to have to score over 30 to win Super Bowl 55 in Tampa.
Do you think, John, that even let's go back, 18 years is a long time, and I don't even mean to go back that far, but that's when Tom Brady was starting out. How much, this is just a big broader brush question. Let's just go back to about then. The Super Bowls that he and you guys won, 01, 02, 03, 04, there you go, to now. I don't want to say night and day, but the substitute, I mean, you just, how much has changed as a coach in these 20 years? It's a long answer, but what are the 2 or 3 biggest things? I'm not talking about Johnny Unitas or back then, since you were coaching even the Bucks then. How much has changed?
Well, I think a lot has changed. The rules of the game have changed.
Yes.
The instant replay, the proliferation of instant replay has really changed, and the rules have changed. Player safety has changed the way we tackle and the way that we play. Quarterback protection certainly has changed. But the addition of all the read options in the NCAA style of football, the quarterback-driven running game, the fly sweeps, the no-huddle offense, a lot has changed. And now they got us going to 17 games, Swami. So you're going to have a lot more football to cover. You look good, by the way, man. You look good.
Yeah, I turned 65. I dropped 35 now.
You turn 65 every year, though, Swami. Every year you're 65.
Well, me losing 35 is like the Queen Mary losing a few deck chairs. But they're floating in the ocean. They're fine, like the icebergs. Thank you. We look, you're not in it, and you will be in another Super Bowl. But how will you watch this game? I mean, obviously, my God, the Chiefs inside out, and the Bucks. Where will you be watching the game? You may be with Mom, I get it, but
you know what I'm going to do? I do it every year. Is I try to go to the Super Bowl just to get caught up in the excitement of the game. I just need to fuel my ambition again to get back there. I need to let my jealousy and envious get out of my system. But I'm going to watch the game. I'll watch it in here in the office quietly, privately by myself. I'm actually going to be on an airplane heading home. I like to not even watch the Super Bowl live because I get so mad. I get ticked off that we're not in that game. But I'm going to go down to Tampa and I'm going to go around to some of the local events and just smell the atmosphere. Let it get inside of me, and hopefully come back in here and let it fuel the Raiders, as you say, back to one of these Super Bowls.
Yeah, the Raiders. I mean, I tell you what, John, as an aside, of course, no one's going through airports this year, but that about as much as anything, or the whoop, which was because of Barry Sanders, I started it. But the Raiders, I get asked, can you just say it once? Say what? The Raiders. I mean, it's an ode to Al Davis. Let's face it, right? I recently was asked you first time. When did you first meet Al? Because I'll give you my story and you'll love it. When did you?
Well, after my first year in Philadelphia, I was the offensive coordinator, and I was 31 years old. We had a good year. We beat the Lions in the playoffs, and Al Davis wanted to interview me for his staff. So I grew up a son of a coach. My dad coached at Notre Dame, coached with the Buccaneers. So I knew of Al Davis, obviously. And the excitement in meeting him, the legendary life. There he is, Al Davis. To be judged by him was exciting. But I was 31 years old. I got turned down for the job. A couple years later, he asked me again. I got turned down for the job. And then the third time, I think I got it right. And he offered me the head coaching position. But it was really cool to go through airports, walk in there with Al Davis, sitting at the owners' meetings next to Al Davis, and really having him critique what he thought was good or bad in a practice or in a game. He toughened my skin, that's for sure, but I sure miss him. His son, Mark, is now our owner, and he's doing a fantastic job leading the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Las Vegas Raiders. Well, so I met him because ESPN's got a show on this week at the 30 for 30, of course. And they said, do you remember? Of course I do. It's early 80s. So I'm 27. You know, I've been on the air 2 or 3 years at the Silver Dome of all places. It was just a Monday night game, John. And I meet him before the game and then in the locker room after. But he goes, Chris Berman, you know, oh my, it's Al Davis, right? And he goes, I know you are an AFL fan. I know you watched Joe Namath at Shea Stadium, but you got it deep down. Even though the Jets and the Raiders, we had our problems. I know deep down you have a soft spot for the Raiders because in AFL, I figured he didn't know who the hell I was. He knew more about me than I knew about him. And, you know, and then he said, he morphs into this, John. He goes, and I've always rooted for ESPN. It's like 1982 or 83, whatever it was. I said, why is that, Mr. Davis? He goes, and you can hear his voice, because you're the underdog, you know, and you know he meant it, right? And that we had a great relationship for forever because I was an AFL guy. And then another time on the field, this was late 80s, right before a Monday night game, but I had access, whatever. He turns to me, hey, Chris, you know what I love? Players. The team is running by to go in the tunnel at about 20-9 playing the Saints. Players. Man, I know, look, you had to part with, but you're with them now. What did he teach you more than anything else? I mean, the list could be long. What do you have in your back pocket from Al Davis? John, I don't know if I've ever asked you this.
Yeah, you know, Al Davis, so many things, but he told me it's reading, writing, and arithmetic. Don't be one of these coaches that just goes out there and works on your running game. Or don't be one of these guys that just goes out there and works on your pass protection. Don't be one of these guys that goes out there and just works on your goal line offense. You got to cover everything every day. And you have to really prepare yourself for a meeting. Don't just show up and put the film on and try to get through a meeting. You got to put countless hours and energy into every single meeting. But the preparation and the overall knowledge that he believed in, it was exciting. And really, still today, I try to think about some of those lessons. When I interviewed for the Raiders, here's a great story. He called me Butch. He said, hey, Butch, why don't you get up on the chalkboard there and draw up your best 3rd and goal play at the 9-yard line? Now, I had learned this from Tom Landry because I saw Tom Landry, the ex-Cowboy coach, in a clinic. And he would draw up the offense in blue ink. He'd put the crayon down. He'd get a red pen and he'd draw up the defense. He'd put the red pen down. He'd get the green pen. He'd draw up the route and the combination. So everything was color-coded. And it really made an impact on me. So when Al Davis told me to go up on the board and draw my favorite play, 3rd and 9 at the 9, I started a blue pen. I got the green pen. I got the red pen. And Al's sitting there with his glasses on. He says, hey, Butch, what's wrong with the crayons? And I said, Mr. Davis, I'm just trying to give you a color-coded presentation. I learned this from Tom Landry. He goes, don't you know I'm colorblind? Just use one crayon. Got a lot of great memories of that guy. And, you know, when you close your eyes, those still today, and you think of silver and black, what do you think of?
Oh, there's only one thing to think of. The Raiders win. It's just the Raiders. I mean, it's the best. And listen, you look good in the, you know, I haven't seen you much. Obviously, no one's seen anybody in person. You and I got to be teammates. I mean, drafts and ESPN, et cetera. And you'll be in this Super Bowl. You're the only coach to beat the Chiefs first string since November a year ago. You know, 2 Novembers ago. So we can't thank you enough, and we wish the best for Mom. And don't be a stranger, will you?
Yeah, you know, I love you, Swami. Miss you and all the people that we had a lot of fun with. But let's just encourage us all here to find a way to open your heart, open your pocketbook a little bit if you can, and try to buy something, try to do something to contribute to John and Jane Ellis and this great cancer foundation. Love you, brother. And I'll call you soon.
All right, my man. I might sneak into Tampa for I'm doing the show after the game, but it's going to be 36 hours in and out. It's a whole nother story. We'll be in touch, and you've really enlightened us and enlightened me. And how about everybody on this special pre-Super Bowl Zoominar, or however we're going to call it. That wraps this up, but there's another one to go. And to quote John, to echo what John said, every little bit helps here. Let's kick cancer's butt. It's about time. Every little bit, we're gaining on it, right? We're moving the chains. It may not be a Tyreek Hill bomb, but we're moving the chains. If you had to pick, do you want to? You don't need to pick. You're a coach unless you want to. You just want a good game, don't you?
34-31, Buccaneers, baby.
I figured.
I can't go to a Super Bowl and not root for Tampa. Heck, Berman.
I know. I wanted John record. Well, I'm on the Chiefs side because, the big redhead and I talk every now and then, and I don't mean it. I talk about the coach of the Chiefs. Matter of fact, we're due to talk this evening. So I'll tell him you got to play for him, but you can't give it because it's the Buccaneers.
Nah, don't make Andy mad. I got enough problems with the Chiefs. Leave my name out of it. Don't even bring my name up.
I never heard of you. I'm Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing. All right.
I'm out of here, Swami. Love you, brother.
All right, John. Best to you. And thanks everybody for joining, and John and Jane. Good luck with the rest of the event. I've had a ball. Hopefully everybody on our VIP session has as well. Thanks to Jay and Jane and John, and we'll see you soon.
Hello, everybody. This is the Zoom voice of God. Joe Tessitore is hosting our next Power Hour here. And Joe, you can begin our event here, brother. Thank you for being
Thank you very much, voice of God. Good evening, everybody. I'm thrilled to be with you. Joe Tessitore here, longtime Connecticut resident, and just so happy to be taking part in the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. Listen, we've all been on far too many Zoom calls in the course of the past year, but if it's for the CCF, it's Super Bowl, and it's got Zoom-tacular, I'm all in. I'm all for it. So have some fun here tonight. Drink some wine, eat, enjoy. What we're going to try to do is give you great all access with some wonderful football celebrities so that we all sound a little more informed and like we're insiders leading up to the big game come next Sunday, and raise great awareness for what we're doing with the Connecticut Cancer Foundation, as well as hopefully raising some money for what we all know to be an outstanding cause. And that's what I want to talk to you just for a moment here. Before we get started, a reminder that this foundation was founded by Jane and John Ellis all the way back 2.5 decades ago. That was after John was successfully treated for cancer in 1986. We're going to hear from them a little later in the evening. And since then, what the foundation has been able to do is remarkable and needs to be applauded. $6.4 million and over 7,800 families here in our state of Connecticut who have dealt with financial hardships, all attached to a cancer diagnosis they have helped. They have also raised more than $2.4 million for cancer research. That doesn't happen alone. It happens because of everybody who is on this Zoom-tacular, who has joined forces with the Connecticut Cancer Foundation in past galas, 34 years of helping Connecticut cancer patients with everyday living expenses. So listen, if I was in the room right now, we would all be raising a glass. I would say, everybody, give everybody a big hand who's been a part of this. So right now, give yourself a big hand. I encourage everybody, if you see the chat feature there on your screen, I encourage you to connect with us using the chat feature. We're going to have Q&A sessions. We're going to have spectacular guests joining us. If you want to chime in with anything at all, get right there on the chat feature here on the Zoom-tacular here. 34 years of helping cancer patients, helping families. Part of our event this evening, we have the online auction. We have exciting memorabilia. We have trips. You can make a donation at any time. You'll see the link for the donation right there in the chat here on the Zoom. So we got the auction link in the chat room. We've got the chat room for question and answers, and we've got football celebs with inside access. So let's waste no time in joining one of them right now. And earlier today, all the way from Hawaii, we were able to visit with the incomparable Rex Ryan. Here he is. We are thrilled to be joined now by Rex Ryan. I mean, really, what would be a pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular without the spectacular one himself? Rex, always good to visit with you. Where are you, by the way? Because I see palm trees. I see you with a big smile. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm actually in Hawaii coaching the Hula Bowl. So, it's an all-star game. A lot of senior players here. So it's great. Yeah, we're defending the came last year and kind of get my coaching fix here, for the year. But it's great. It's a blast, and you're right. The weather here is tremendous.
Oh, you're making us jealous here in the Northeast as we had snow this week. Hey, listen, 20 years ago right now, you were at the mountaintop. You were coaching and winning a Super Bowl. We're trying to give folks inside access here, that VIP experience with folks like you. Be honest with us. The lead up, how intense is it? The pressure? Are you sleeping that week heading into the big game, Rex?
Yeah, I think, first off, Joe, you're right. You're so excited, and you're not sleeping because it's during the season. You're a football coach, and you never sleep during the season. You're not allowed to. That's just kind of the way it is. But really going into it is weird. The first week is so much about tickets, requests for all our players, and getting families situated, hotels, all that type of stuff. And by the way, you're preparing a game. Um, and we as coaches would treat it like a traditional week. We would be ready to play a game that Sunday, the first Sunday, and then, oh, by the way, you have an entire week after that. When I was with Brian, we got down there earlier. That was something he wanted to do, to be the first team down there. And then when the other team landed, we were practicing in full pads. So we wanted to send a message, and Brian did this. He wanted to send a message that, hey, we're here to win the game. And I think that was kind of the message he got from his mentor, Bill Walsh. So I think that's what we went with.
Rex, I'm curious because this year is so non-conforming, right? We're not going to have the whole week of the travel in. You got a team playing in their home stadium. You don't have all the media days. And even when it comes to what you're saying, the nonstop ticket requests and the events, all that's gone, right? In a strange way, is it easier on the teams with all the COVID restrictions to just get ready to play a football game now?
I think it would be, Joe. I really do. Now, I think there's going to be an advantage in Tampa, being in their home stadium, sleep there, the comforts of their own beds, and their hotel room that they sleep on, the night before home game. So it's going to be all, they're used to it, so nothing changes there. But you're right; it's all football. It's all about it, and that's the way it should be. I think we'll have a great game. I don't think there's any question about that.
Rex, you've been around the game for a long time. I think we're done arguing whether or not Tom Brady and where he is on the Mount Rushmore, the greatest player in team sports history at this. I mean, we get it, right? What doesn't the public understand about Tom Brady beyond the brand, the image, the stats, the accolades that guys like you really know about him?
Yeah, what I know about him is that, he plays number one. Quarterback is the highest position of any sport, like better, more so it's so important, more so point guard in basketball, a post player in basketball, a pitcher in baseball. There's no comparison. A quarterback is that. I mean, he's your football team. If you got a great one like Tom Brady, you're always going to be in the playoffs. Name the last time Tom Brady never made the playoffs. It was when he was hurt. So to me, that's what it is. But he is so great because of what he brings to the entire football team, based on leadership. And there was an old saying: when your best players are your best guys, you got a heck of a chance to win. I was fortunate to be around this, and that was the case. But Tom Brady does everything that way. He prepares harder than any player on the football team. But what happens is everybody sees that preparation, and they got to prepare that way too, or they're going to prepare. And that's what he brings to the table. So he brings discipline to the team, professionalism, unbelievable, the biggest competitor you'll ever see.
I want to ask you about that, Rex. I want to ask you about that, about the level of competition, because listen, he's got a certain image, right? But you, through your years, you've gravitated towards guys who got dog in them, right? I mean, nasty, bite defensive players. In all actuality, do you consider Brady a little more on that side of the spectrum, a guy that, forget what you see on the surface level, this is a guy who's got some dog in him?
Oh, there's no question. And Joe, we had, my brother was fortunate to be with him for 2 of those Super Bowls. Coach, Brady was on the team for 4 years when he was there. The stories about him are unbelievable, about how tough he is. Like things that the general public, there's no way in hell anybody would be out there playing, but he was. And some of them are so, you can't even bring them up. But it's like this guy can barely walk and he's out there playing. Let's just put it that way. And it's like, and he never flinched, not one. He never wavered on it. There was no question he was going to play. And I think that his teammates see that. And you're right. I mean, you want to talk about, who you're going to choose first in any game, it's going to be him. I don't care who it is. I mean, if I was selected and I was with the Baltimore Ravens, and you could say, okay, you're going to take all your team, and Tom Brady was happened to be on it. As much as I love Ray Lewis, I'm taking Tom Brady.
And now on the other side, we got your friend Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, who everybody thinks is the next great one, and he's already on his way there, trying to become the 7th head coach quarterback duo with back-to-back Super Bowl wins. Here they are stepping up to the plate against Brady. So you tell me, with all that talent on that side, all that offense on that side,
right?
Easy day for them, a close game, or do you see an upset with the home team in Tampa?
Oh man, I tell you what, it's I can see all those possibilities.
You got to give us one. Come on, sneak peek here.
Like,
I know you're a week and a half away from making your on-air prediction, but for the folks here with the Connecticut Cancer Foundation right now, give us your prediction.
I'm gonna say Kansas City, and the reason I'm gonna say Kansas City, Joe, is I don't think they can cover Tyreek Hill, and I don't think they can cover Travis. And to me, if you're gonna play all that coverage, you're not covering those two. And I think that gives Kansas City a big advantage in this game. As much as, look, I love Tom Brady. There's no question about it. I don't know what the odds are, whatever. It's going to be a close game, but I just don't think anybody can stop Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Certainly not Tampa Bay.
Rex, enjoy the rest of your trip, and thank you so much for spending some all-access time with us.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, Joe, thank you.
So that is Rex Ryan and his prediction. He likes the Chiefs. He says Kelce and Hill are going to be too much for Brady and the Bucs to handle. Hill and Kelce, they both went over 100 yards in each of the 2 playoff games so far with the Chiefs. By the way, you never know with technology, folks. We've all had our Zoom issues this year. So if you saw that black bar going across my eyes and Rex's eyes, don't worry. We're trying out for the witness protection program where mob informants on the side being interviewed for 60 minutes. But we'll fix things here. We'll get things going the right way here. Hey, to remind you, this organization, the Connecticut Cancer Foundation, it is a small staff of 2 who work so hard. And Jane and Laura, we so appreciate what you do for everybody, working through the pandemic, sending checks out every single week to cancer patients and their families, working tirelessly to continue to raise funds for those in need in our state here. And as for an example as to why that work matters so much, a reminder that this is an opportunity to support patients and their families, and particularly during COVID. Rarely do you hear about the financial impact of cancer, that side of the story, but it is such a critical component of every diagnosis. This is the story of little Joshua and his mom.
Joshua is my 3-year-old. He likes playing with his brother and sister. He's very independent. He has a different personality than everybody in my house. We don't know where he gets it from. We started off going to the pediatrician because he had an earache. And she prescribed him the amoxicillin antibiotics and Motrin for the fever. The next day, Dr. Egan, his pediatrician, is calling me. I had to go to Yale, New Haven because Joshua was very ill and we needed to go right away. That's when they told us that he had leukemia. And I was in shock. I didn't know how to react. Everybody else was crying around me and I was consoling them. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. You can't work because your son can't go to school or daycare. Your bills pile up. It's hard. You know, we were homeless. We didn't have a home. And we were living in a shelter. And in my situation, it's not like I can just pick up and start working or get back on my feet right away. It wasn't like that. You try to look for help in every single place that you can, but you feel like you're not doing good enough. Katie Henry introduced me to the Connecticut Cancer Foundation. I was grateful. I felt like I was blessed, and I was thankful for those people that didn't know me, didn't know my situation, but they were willing to help, and they put an effort in helping. It gives you hope, you know, and you don't feel so overwhelmed because you guys take a lift off our shoulders that we don't have to worry so much. I was watching my son's life coming away from him. And now that we're home, I see him and he's just full of life. And he's teaching me just to keep going and be strong for him and his brother and sister. I used to see cancer patients and be like, yeah, they're gonna be fine, they're okay, and just keep walking. Now that I'm in that world, I'm like, yeah, it's hard. I feel like people should treat other people and care for others like they want to be cared for and get treated. And it can happen to anyone. You always get your reward for doing good deeds. Today's me, tomorrow can be you.
And we would ask everybody to try to find that reward when you hear a story like Joshua's. We wish the best for Joshua and his family. You got the chance, folks. Listen, you go right there to your chat room, upper right-hand corner, join in with the Q&A, but you're also going to see the link to donate, the link to the auction. We promise you right here, our pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular, all access with the best football guests you can find, including the guy who's joining me now, my longtime friend. He's been my on-air partner. The great Booger McFarland is going to join us right here. Boog, come on in here for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. Let's get Booger McFarland here. Speaking of Super Bowl champions, the two-time Super Bowl champion, who I know is buzzing because it's his Bucks now in his hometown there. Hey, first off, what's the atmosphere like down there, Boog?
Hey, Tess, the atmosphere is great. Tom Brady has excited this city. Everyone is dreaming and thinking like it's 2002 again, my friend.
but yet, Boog, it's so different. For those of us up here in the Northeast, and I know you're a part-time Connecticut guy, Boog. You're up here enough. You're up here enough now. You're one of us half the time. But for those of us up here, we got a big storm coming in on Monday. I mean, this isn't going to be normal. This isn't the normal Super Bowl week, right? With all the festivities, with the two teams going around and the media week. We just talked to Rex Ryan about that. How does that change things, Boog?
Well, here's the thing, Tess, is that for the fans, it'll change everything. And I feel bad for this city because it's the first time that a team has hosted the Super Bowl in that city and that home team has played in said Super Bowl. And so the fans won't get an opportunity to enjoy it. The festivities, the parties, all the things that go with the Super Bowl won't get a chance to be a part because of COVID. And we've had to deal with a lot of stuff in 2020. And so I think by now everyone is adjusted. I'm just happy though for this city because this city is used to winning championships. You think about the Lightning and the Rays, how hard they fought with a small payroll. and going all the way back to our Buccaneers in 2002. So for this city that is used to winning championships to get back in for an opportunity that they can win one, I'm just so happy to be a part of it. Wish it were under different circumstances, but nonetheless, we're going to have fun and enjoy it.
Look, let's get to the game here. Because it's an unconventional way to arrive at a Super Bowl. The Buccaneers just the 5th team to win 3 road playoff games to make it to the Super Bowl. What is it going to take for Tampa Bay to become the Super Bowl champions? Listen, we know Brady. What's the X factor? What's the one thing that if you're here on this Zoom call, you can sound really smart for the next week and a half walking around town and saying this? What is it?
The Buccaneers are going to win the game if they can win in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes may have 400 yards passing between the 20s, but as long as the Buccaneers don't give up a pass over 40 yards and they can win in the red zone, Tampa's got to win the red zone. Very similar to what they did with Green Bay. So don't look at the stat sheet and look at the amount of yards that Mahomes throws for. They can look at 2 things. Explosive plays. Does anybody have a catch over 40 yards? And did the Buccaneers win the red zone? If they win the red zone and Tom Brady is standing upright, they got a really good chance to win the game, Tess.
I want to talk to you. I want to ask you about your old position, defensive line for Tampa Bay, because Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett have been phenomenal in recent weeks. And now Kansas City is banged up on the offensive line. Is that a little bit of the secret sauce here? Is that hidden in the mix here?
It's going to be hidden in there a little bit, but it's kind of like I know that you know that you know that I know. So yeah. Andy Reid knows that his tackles are weak. So what's he going to do? He's going to make sure that his edges are protected. You're going to have Kelsey chipping on one side. They'll slide the center opposite of that same side that Kelsey's chipping on. So essentially you have 6 on 4. And now that will allow Tyreek Hill and Watkins and those guys to get out into the pass route. And Patrick Mahomes is a magician. And if he has any amount of time, he'll get the ball out. So I don't think the tackles missing and JPP and Shaq Barrett are going to be as big a part of the game. If you're looking for a Buccaneers defensive lineman that could have a huge impact, I would go with the guy who you think should have won the Heisman coming out of Nebraska, Ndamukong Suh. He may play a bigger role than JPP and Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, so you remember everything I've ever said, going back to our days of broadcasting college football when I was hyping him up nonstop. I do want to remind everybody listening, you're getting great inside knowledge here from some of the best football minds. We're thrilled to bring it to you, but at the end of the day, we're here because of the Connecticut Cancer Foundation. And you go to your chat link, upper right-hand corner, you're going to see the link there for the auction. You're going to see the link there to make a donation as we continue on here with the great Booger McFarland. Boog, you've been in the position, you know what it feels like to be sitting in the locker room moments before you run out into the field to play in a Super Bowl. How do you describe it to somebody?
You know, Tess, it's one of those things that once the game starts, it's a normal game. Like the game is 60 minutes, the field is 53 1/3 wide, about 100 yards long. But it's everything that's leading up to that game that plays on you mentally. So the Super Bowl is more mental than it is physical, because we've all played a football game before. We've played hundreds of games before. So what makes the Super Bowl any different? It's the mental aspect of knowing there's finality coming when the horn sounds. It's the mental aspect of knowing that there's something greater than you as an individual can accomplish at stake, because you can forever be linked. There's only been 54 champions, Tess, in the modern Super Bowl era. There's only been 54 of them. And so come Sunday night, they're going to crown number 55. And there have been thousands. I mean, thousands of players that have won, that have played the game. But how many have won a ring? And that's what starts playing on you mentally. And it's the players that can forget about all of that, that can put that to the side and treat it as a normal game. It sounds really simple. I've tried to do it twice. The second time I was better at it than the first. Just understanding once the ball is kicked off, then there's normality. But until that ball is kicked off, man, there's so many things playing through your head. There's so many dreams, so many aspirations. There's even some negativity, because you don't want to be the guy that cost your team a Super Bowl. It's the mental aspect. That's what makes that game different than any other.
But when you do what we do for a living, and everybody that's going to be on this pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular experiences this, invariably the kind of questions we get asked is, hey, what kind of a guy is so-and-so? Hey, what's it like when you work, right? I mean, that's what we get 99% of the time, right? And in recent years, and a lot of times it could be Tom Brady, or for you and I in our years, are kind of Nick Saban, what kind of guys they are. Well, but in recent years, you get a lot of, hey, you've been around Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, I've been around Patrick Mahomes. There's games in college, there's games in the NFL, but you and I have been around Patrick Mahomes a lot for a guy who's young as a superstar, right? So young that now at 25, he is going to be the youngest quarterback to start 2 Super Bowls, 25 years old. Now, the youngest quarterback to win 2 Super Bowls is now the old quarterback who he's against, right? It's Brady.
Yeah.
Brady had 2 Super Bowl championships, Boog, by the time he was 26 years old. Here's Mahomes. He could have 2 Super Bowl championships at 25 years old. You and I have sat in meetings with Mahomes. We've socialized with him. We've covered some of his biggest moments. When somebody asks you, hey, what kind of a guy is Patrick Mahomes? What's your answer? What is he really like?
He is a very laid-back guy. He is young, but he is mature beyond his years. I think growing up in a baseball clubhouse with his dad, he was never mesmerized by pro sports. I'll use myself as an example. When I got into the NFL, I was mesmerized because never before in life had I been around so much wealth and so many stars, and it almost takes you places mentally and emotionally that you can't handle. Well, Patrick Mahomes has been there and done that because he's kind of rubbed elbows with Ken Griffey Jr. He's rubbed elbows with A-Rod. Like, he's been there with some of the biggest stars that the game has ever seen. And so it afforded him the opportunity that when he got his chance to play, the moment wasn't too big. He's wise beyond his years. He's settled down. Okay. He has a fiance. He has a family that he's starting to build. And that's different, Tess, because normally when you're 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there, like, it's all about, man, let's go party and have fun. Well, Patrick Mahomes, he's not like that. He's more settled. And I think that's what you see on the field. That's why you don't see him panicking. He's mature. He's almost like an old soul, but he's got a 25-year-old arm that's absolutely outstanding.
I feel like Tom Brady, when all is said and done, is probably going to be the most documented pro athlete of our lifetime. I don't know that you can. I mean, it's just, when's it going to end, Bug? Right? I mean, a year from now, we still talking about this? Another Super Bowl for Tom Brady. What do you think people miss with Tom Brady?
Tess, people will talk a lot about the Super Bowls, the 10 Super Bowls, 1-6 going for 7. Here's what I want people to think about. Imagine this. Imagine if I gave you everything that you ever thought about having and you achieved everything that you thought about achieving. How many of us would be satisfied? There was a book, Tess, that I read a long time ago, written by Ernest Hill, called Satisfied with Nothing. I truly think Tom Brady is satisfied with nothing. I think Tom Brady is satisfied only when he has fulfilled a level of competitive spirit inside of himself. And I think that's what keeps driving him back, because we all have to find something that makes us get up every day. We all have to find something that makes us compete. And what does a guy who's married to one of the most beautiful people in the world, one of the richest models in the world, who's won 6 Super Bowl rings, what does that guy have to prove? Well, he's got to prove something to himself. He's got to fight. He's got to play these mental games inside of his head. And I think the one thing people miss, because they focus so much on the rings and they focus so much on the Super Bowls, that they miss what does it take to do something for 21 years when you've made all the money you can ever spend, but you continue to go out there and do it. And oh, by the way, the thing that you do, it allows people to hit you upside the head.
As you did to many like him for many years. Just a quick reminder here, we're visiting with Booger McFarland, the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. We've already heard from Rex Ryan. Rex gave his prediction. We're going to get Boog's official prediction in a moment. But I do want to take time to thank some of our sponsors out there, Landmark Partners, Stereon Energy, the Anthony Galvin Foundation, Pfizer, and Pasta Vita, Boog. Pasta Vita. Of course, here in Connecticut, we're going to have
a little
Pasta
boiler.
Vita.
A nice little bolognese, baby. Let's do
A
it.
nice little bolognese from Pasta Vita. But we thank everybody. And once again, you can go to the chat room. The link is there for both the auction as well as the ability to donate so that we can help some of the families in our area and the financial hardship that so often comes along with a cancer diagnosis. I don't know a few in my life that are as charitable and altruistic as our friend Booger McFarland here. We'll continue on the conversation with Booger and we'll get right to it. All right, Boog, here's the deal. Rex comes on and he says his prediction. Now, I know you guys, and not until next Sunday will you give your official predictions to the world, but for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation, you got to give it, and it's got to be solid here. Rex came on before you and he said, I don't like the matchup with Hill and Kelsey against the Tampa defensive backs. I like Kansas City. Now, my gut is you're not picking Kansas City. You're picking Tampa. But if you're picking Tampa, I need a score, I need a why, and I need it proven. Booger McFarland, what's your official prediction?
I'm going Tampa Bay 37, Kansas City 31.
Ooh, thriller.
I think it's gonna.
Thriller.
I think it's gonna. Yes, I think it's gonna be a high-scoring affair. But Tess, back to what I said earlier. I think this game is gonna be won in the red zone, and I think the Buccaneers defense I trust more. I trust Ty Bowles more than I trust Steve Spagnuolo. Nothing against the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, or Frank Clark or Chris Jones. But I've seen that defense ran on far too many times, and I've seen them make stops. And I just think when it's all said and done, Tom Brady is clicking on all cylinders. I think Antonio Brown is going to come back and have one heck of a game. I think it's going to be either Tom Brady or Antonio Brown for MVP. I'm even going further. I'm not giving you just a score. I'm going to give you the MVP, Tess. It's either going to be Tom Brady or Antonio Brown. How about that? Tell Rex to
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, my friend. And because you know the boys in the desert are always just a phone call away, Boog, right? They're always a phone call away, right? And I was looking at the prop bets. It just so happened. So if anybody here on the Connecticut Cancer Foundation wants to have just a little juice on the game, and perhaps you'll win a little something you give to the foundation. If you want to go with an MVP prop bet of Antonio Brown, Boog, you're going to be rolling in it. Because 50%, Boog, 50% of the tickets being bet in Vegas on the MVP are on Patrick Mahomes. 50% of all tickets in Vegas are Patrick Mahomes for the MVP. Obviously, Brady's the second choice, but then it becomes all these long shot odds after that. So, hey, you got the underdog, Boog. You got the money line with him, and you're calling out an exotic MVP. I love it, brother. I love it. I may have to get to Vegas early for one of my fights. I may have to get there about 2 weeks early just to get down on that, Boog. Hey, listen, before we move on, I want to ask you this. For people who have watched your meteoric rise and ascendant career from going from a player to a broadcaster who you can't turn on ESPN and not see Booger McFarland, what's the ride been like for you? Share it with the people. What's this incredible journey been like?
Well, Tess, it's been fun. I never thought in a million years I'd be where I am today. I started out in Winsboro, Louisiana, the son of a single mother, middle child. And I only had one dream, and that was to leave Louisiana and find something else. And for me to go from there to LSU, to be drafted by Tampa, and then, that was my dream job. And all of a sudden now I'm 30 years old, I'm retired. I meet my wife, Tammy, and we start a family. And then it's like, what am I going to do next? And for me to start in radio in Tampa, and then, a lot of my success, and a lot of people may not know this, a lot of my success I owe to you. Because my very first audition I did with you at ESPN. And, they always say you never get a second chance to make first impressions. And the impression I made that day with your help and with your guidance has played a pivotal role in where I am today. People talk about dreams coming true, and people talk about not knowing what your ceiling can be. I never knew what my ceiling could be in broadcasting. And if you'd have told me back in 1995 when I graduated high school that by the age of 43, I would have worked on ESPN, I would have called Monday Night Football, I would have been alongside Joe Tessitore, I would have met some of the great people, and I get a chance to come on ESPN and talk about football, I would have told you you're lying, because I didn't come from the place that you're supposed to be able to do those things from. But it just goes to show you, man, that when you have good people helping you, when you have people that are believing in you, Jay Rothman has been somebody that believed in me from day one. Yourself, Mike Greenberg, Kevin Nagandi, Dari Noka, people that poured into me, man, anything's possible. And so Tess, my media career is a culmination of a lot of people helping a country boy from Louisiana. May not have fit the bill. I didn't go to Medill. You know, I didn't go to Syracuse. I didn't go to Missouri. But what I did was I played the sport, and I have a passion about it, and I enjoy talking. I enjoy having fun, and hopefully some people become entertained and educated. And so I just continue to enjoy it, man. And that's kind of where I am now. And very, very blessed to be here.
Well, we're blessed to have you. And for everybody that's getting this VIP all access experience here on the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's Zoom-tacular, you just got a glimpse of what really makes Booger McFarland special, and that is gratitude. He's overflowing with gratitude, passion, just joyfulness. And that's why he lights up every TV screen he's on. Hey, Boog, that was good insight. We're going to see if your upset pick comes through. It's always great visiting with you. And listen, you may be from Winsboro, Louisiana, and a Tampa guy through and through, but you know your family up here in Connecticut now. So everybody up here is glad to have you on our Zoom-tacular, Boog.
Hey, glad to be here, Tess. Thank you. And I can't wait to get back up there, get to Ludol's. Listen, there's nothing better than coming to Connecticut, getting some great food, and coming by your house, getting a little charcuterie, some bruschetta. It doesn't matter. You know, Boog likes to eat. And so for everybody on this Cancer Zoom, hey, if you ever want me to come over, I'm an easy find. I'll come over. I'll have dinner with you as long as you're cooking, and we can have a great time.
Boog, have a great night. Enjoy Super Bowl week down there in Tampa. We'll catch you up soon, my friend.
All good, Tess. Later, buddy.
Okay. Hey, once again, folks, I encourage everybody to go to our chat room. We got the Q&A there, but also I want everybody to see our full list of sponsors. I had a moment I was able to name a few, but really I'd love for everybody to go there and see the full list of sponsors. And of course, I'd love for you to go there and click on that donation as well, the live auction. We have more of our all-star cast of football minds to come to give you everything you need to know for the Super Bowl here with our Zoom-tacular for the CCF. But I want once again to take time to introduce you to another family who has been helped so greatly by this organization.
Lavinia is my beautiful daughter. She loves to dress up and play dress up. She loves art. She's really artistic. Lavinia was diagnosed with a stage 3 Wilms tumor kidney cancer when she was 2.5 years old. Rare childhood kidney cancer, only 100 cases in the US a year. They removed the whole kidney and adrenal gland, and she also had a 7-inch tumor in her 2.5-year-old body. That was also spreading to her vena cava, which is the major artery leading to the heart. The impact of hearing that news, I feel like it's earth-shattering. There's really you don't ever get over those words. They never leave you. The financial impact of cancer is a lot more than most people, I think, acknowledge in some ways. They assume you have insurance, so everything's all set. But a lot of times you're living out of a bag. And so that's where I feel like the foundation sort of came in and supported us, because they picked up all the details that I just couldn't. I had no willpower anymore to do that. None of that mattered. My daughter's life was the only thing that mattered at that point. It was such a profound effect on me because it was a time when I felt so alone, and I knew I wasn't anymore. If this foundation didn't exist, I don't know what parents would do. I actually don't even want to let my mind go to that. It's too dark of a place. Some people think they have to give so much. Give a prayer, give a smile, give $1, give $20, give $100, whatever it is that you have, because it comes back to you. There's times in our life when we give, right? And then there's times in our life when we receive, and you need to be open to receiving the help that is available to you. She's taught me so much about letting stuff go. Once you go through something like this, there's no room for anything that's going to bring you down. You can only rise up after this. That's it.
Time in the life to give, a time to receive, and tonight continues to be a time to give here with our Connecticut Cancer Foundation's pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. Listen, you see the stories here that center around the real life challenges for a family with a child, but we also want to remind everybody that the CCF helps so many adult cancer patients who are struggling just as much. So we want to keep that in our thoughts too. The reality is that so many cancer patients have to worry about the regular expenses of life, feeding their families, car payments, having a roof over their heads, transportation back and forth to treatment, so many expensive medications. There is a huge financial burden that comes along with cancer, and these families are dealing with the real cost. So life doesn't stop just because you get the cancer diagnosis. And when it comes to those less fortunate, and when it comes to this ask to give tonight, which again, you can go to the chat room there and you'll see the opportunity to get involved in the live auction as well as the donation link. Just for example, a $5,000 donation, a very generous donation, that's rent for 5 families in our state. $2,000 utilities for 3 families. $1,000 would help with food. $500 a car payment. That impacts people's lives when they're going through this. So we thank everybody for their generosity and their donation. Chat room is upper right. You can see all the sponsors there. We got Q&A going. Greg, thanks for watching as well. Appreciate you chiming in on Q&A. 9-year-old message from Mike Chiappetta. Little Mike, you say you're watching with your dad. You loved listening to Rex and Booger give their predictions. But who do you think Joe's going to win? I think Kansas City's going to win by 3. But what does it matter what I think, Mike Chiappetta? Because we've got one of the great football minds of our generation joining in right now. And I will proudly say I've known this guy since he's 17 years old, which makes me sound so old because he's a Connecticut native, who I was covering when he was the best high school football player to come out of this state in a generation. And I was doing the local news at 23, 24 years old at Channel 3 in Hartford. Let's bring in Dan Orlovsky. Dan, let's get you involved here, my man.
Tess, what's going on, man? It's so good to be with you tonight. Just saw that video as well. Incredible. So what's going on?
Hey, listen, Dan, we're having a great night. Dan, yeah. I feel like, and you know how proud I am of your career when it comes to your media career. Yeah. As somebody who mentored you at one point in your life and gave you some fork in the road guidance. And now I feel like you never leave that room in your house, Dan. I feel like I wake up in the morning and I watch you on Get Up and I watch you on Sports Center and I watch you on NFL Live and I watch you on Sports Center again. And I see you doing social media. I feel like your wife and your kids have you handcuffed to that desk right there and you never, do they bring the food right into the office, Dan?
My daughter has actually brought me eggs in here before once. And here's the worst part, Tess. Like, there's 2 vents, over there. Like, the room gets so hot because the doors are shut all the time because I'm trying to tell my kids to be quiet. I'm sitting here. I've got lights for television. I look at the iPad. So everyone, I sit there and do the work. And at some point, it just becomes so hot sitting there going over the same stuff over and over. So, I mean, it's the reality that we live in, but I've spent a lot of time in 2020 and 2021 in this room, too much in this room.
We all enjoy it. And you've really become, I think it's become really evident that you have become one of the foremost football analysts that quickly from all the hard work you've done, breaking down all the tape. Dan, I'm going to waste no time here. We got 9-year-olds asking for my prediction. They don't need that. They need your prediction, Dan. They need the guy who's the master of the XO and the film. So I want to get right to it, and then we'll dig into the nitty gritty. A week from right now, you're going to go on TV and you're firmly going to say who's winning the Super Bowl.
Kansas City Chiefs. I've felt the Kansas City Chiefs since the time they won last year. You know, I've been adamant that the Chiefs, while they have the best player in football in Patrick Mahomes, and they have the best coach in football right now in Andy Reid, also have 7 or 8 other guys that are absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's a really, really, really good football team. And we often just talk Patrick because he's so remarkable, but it's such a deep team. They're so fast on offense and so physical on defense. I know it's crazy to bet against Brady, but I would. So I'm absolutely taking the Chiefs.
I'm going to give you a question from our Q&A that came in a little earlier today to one of our analysts. And it was simply, who's going to score first in this game? Mahomes to Kelsey or Brady to Gronk, if you were betting on one of those combinations?
Oh, Mahomes to Kelsey. Absolutely. You know, especially down in the red zone. You know, Tess, going back to week 12, man, like the Tyreek Hill had such an early start because the style of defense Tampa played. They played man-to-man coverage, and that's the defense you don't play against Kansas City.
Right.
So, you know, I think that they will change that up, and then that's going to give opportunity for Travis Kelsey to just he just works the field so well. He's got a great feel for space and feel for color. You know, Gronk's going to have his input, but Gronk's input in the on Tampa's offense has really been more about blocking than it's been about pass catching. You know, they keep him in as a blocker so much. And so I absolutely think Kelsey, if one of them was going to score first, it'd be Kelsey.
You referenced that game in week 12. I mean, in that first quarter alone, he had 7 catches for 203 yards, did Hill.
Yeah.
7 catches for 203 yards. I mean, obviously something's going to be quite different when it comes to the way they go out to defend him in this matchup. That was 27-24, week 12, Kansas City. 543 total yards of offense.
Nuts.
And the
Absolutely
for 400.
Nuts, man. They played
62.
press man. Tess, they played press man. So at the line of scrimmage, the defender was in Tyreek's face 5 times in the first quarter. 5 for 5 for 180 yards.
Yeah,
so
you
like
may want to back off,
do.
and you may want to support it with a deep safety.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at some points you got to play man, but you just don't want to do it at the line of scrimmage against that guy.
No doubt about it. Hey, man, I mentioned it earlier. You're a Connecticut native. You're a Shelton guy. You're a wiffle ball proud guy.
No doubt.
Down there on the shoreline. We're supporting a Connecticut cause today. You and I have done this many times through the years of saying, hey, we got to take care of our own. We got to make sure our state is in a good place. How much pride do you take, Dan, when you think about the longevity of your NFL career and now the fact that you're a national media star of coming from our small little state, our small little football state where we always get dismissed of not being a football state, but would you look at what we do, Dan?
Yeah. I mean, Tess, I take an immense amount of pride in it. You know, I always communicate to people. I was so fortunate to grow up in the state because, you know, the area specifically that I grew up in, like football was a big deal. And kind of like, okay, it's Monday, wake up and go to work. Tuesday, wake up to go to work. Like it was, whether it was work or getting ready for sports or school or time to work out, like that was really very much so not only instilled in me by like my father, but also just the community that I grew up in. Like that was just the way it was in Shelton. And so, yeah, I love the fact that from the state and then went on to UConn to be a part of some really special stuff. And now back living in the state, like I brag about it all the time, you know, and I talk trash all the time. I have so many friends, right, that played college or NFL football with that are from Texas or from California or Jersey. And I make sure like I always tell them like my high school team would have gone down to Texas and whooped up on whoever we played. And we would like, it's always coming from me. So yeah, man, I love the fact that I'm from a state that people like to disrespect.
And what are you learning about yourself with your media career, Dan? After all is said and done, now you're off to your second career and you're kicking butt there too. Yeah,
I think the first thing that I've learned is fans are a lot smarter now than they were 20 years ago, you know, because of...
That's not necessarily a good thing though, bro. That's
no,
not
I know. I know.
It's a lot.
No, I know. You know, 20 years ago, people didn't have, you know, the NFL has their Game Pass, right? Where anybody in the world can go buy a subscription and watch every football game. And so, you know, they didn't have access to that, social media. And so when you're going to say something, you better be confident in what you're saying and better be able to support what you're saying, you know, because there's so many fans nowadays that have so much access and again, so much social media that they'll make sure they tell you how stupid you are. I think that the thing I've learned also is that I craved team. You know, I grew up playing team sports since I was 4. And the media world, at least certainly so far, isn't super team. You know, it's very individualized as you climb your way through and make your mark. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm kind of on a team at ESPN, but now at NFL Live. So it's starting to feel a little bit like those people are my locker room, so to speak. Laura Rutledge and Marcus and Mina has become kind of like my team. And then I think the last thing is how much impact the media does have. You know, I didn't really think they did that much, and then I've realized that you've got some impact with the way people listen to you.
I want to ask you about that, but I do want to remind people to please go to our chat room, find the link there for our auction for our donations, as well as looking through at the sponsors. Remember, we're supporting the Connecticut Cancer Foundation and all the great work that they do through the years to help those with the diagnosis and the financial hardships for families and patients that come along with that. You say you learned about how much influence the media does have. And in doing that, listen, you're right out there at the forefront. You're on TV all day long. You're doing national radio interviews. You're calling games on the weekends, and you're extremely active on social media. With that comes criticism. With that comes challenges. How difficult can that be in this day and age, especially when it comes to, reading about yourself on social media, Dan?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I was really well equipped to handle it because I've been playing quarterback since I was 15, in the private eye, so to speak. So everyone has a comment on the quarterback. So I was a little bit used to that. I think that I would not have the job that I have unless people were passionate about sports, specifically football. I just wouldn't. And so if I want the benefits of the job that I have, I've got to be able to handle the reality that people are going to share their thoughts with you about what you said or who you are because of the things that you said about their favorite player or their team. At the end of the day, and I've said this quote on television, never take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from, and social media for me is a great place. It's a weapon. I know the negatives of social media. I know the negatives of driving down the highway. I know, so I don't avoid it. People are allowed to say the things that they want. I know, Tess, and you know this, I know at the end of the day, the work that I put in to be willing to say the things that I'm going to say. I know the work that I put in to go to UConn and play football. I know the work that I put in to go to play in the NFL for 12 years. No one can take that from me, right? And so that gives me confidence. My preparation gives me confidence. But I don't, when people say something nasty or negative to me, I'm so beyond allowing that or having that affect me. Hopefully they find more things to do in their 10 seconds of their day than to take the shot next time or something.
Well, I'll tell you, we're getting messages on our Q&A, Dan, that simply said, thank you for representing our state so well as you have through the years. And, I've lauded you on that through the years and even here tonight. And I would just love to share that with you. Hey, I love that piece of artwork behind you there.
Yeah.
That's your career right there, isn't it?
Yeah. That's, I started in Detroit. And then after Detroit, I went down to Houston to Indy, and I went to Tampa, and then I went back to Detroit. So those are the 4 teams and 5 different stops essentially that I played with. And so actually a buddy of mine had that made for me. And so this is like the one thing in the house that I actually have that represents like my football career. My wife's like, you hang the jerseys and whatnot. And I'm not really into that. I don't want to put that pressure on my boys, So that's the one thing that I've got that's kind of representative of the career.
And I'll just share this with people too, because listen, we're on a Zoom call with all our local people in the state who are supporting a cancer foundation. But your wife in the medical field, a nurse, somebody who still serves our community. My sister.
Oh,
your sister, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Your sister.
My sister is a nurse.
That's a 15-yarder on me, Dan, but share that with folks.
Yeah, that's a good thing we caught that one.
Right.
She was at Waterbury for a while, and she now works at Yale as a nurse. Yeah, and she's been in the grind, man. She's had a year. She just got her second vaccination like a week ago, and she sent out this message of, I wish you guys could understand how difficult this year was and how mentally taxing it was, but getting that second shot was like super, uplifting for her to have a little bit of the fear of the past year or so be removed.
Well, we thank her for her service, and listen, Dan, it's awesome visiting with you. And like I said, everybody is so proud of you, and we're going to mark down that prediction. We got a couple Kansas Cities in the bag. Now, Boog was on. You probably heard Boog, and you knew where Boog was going to go. Obviously, he's going to pick Tampa.
Yes, I'll give you another little teaser. If I had to really stamp it, I don't think it's going to be that close.
Really, you think this is a blowout? You think Kansas City, with all their offensive firepower, is going to put up a number that Tampa's just not going to be able to stay with?
Yeah, I do. I think that Kansas City, if you look at what Tampa's been doing well offensively lately, it's protecting and beating man coverage. Kansas City plays it really well. They play man coverage really well. And then you can't play man against Kansas City. You just cannot. So if you are going to play zone, Tampa plays it poorly on defense. And then two, no one in the NFL runs more RPOs than the Kansas City Chiefs. The run pass option was literally designed to make zone defense a moot point. And so I don't think they match up well, Tampa.
Okay. So listen, that's the defensive side of the matchup, but nobody has more experience of being in a spot like this in any level of championship sport, in any sport, than the guy playing quarterback on the other side. Yeah. How can Brady manage things? How can they control things on the other side of the ball that gets us to a place where it's a closer game or a game where they could be in position to do something late?
Yeah, I think that the thought process is don't control it. I mean, you've got to throw haymaker for haymaker. You've got to be incredibly aggressive offensively. And, they've thrown the ball downfield as much as they have this year. Tampa, I think the third most deep shots downfield in the NFL for stats people. You got to keep taking them and hitting them. A lot of people think slow the game down against Kansas City. No, they're going to score. They're going to score 30. You better make sure that you do it. You have as many chances to score 30 plus as well. And so it's not slow the game down. It's take your shots. And so Tom's going to have to take his shots and hit them. Mike Evans will obviously have to play really big. Scotty Miller will have to play big because he's such a vertical threat. But they got to push the ball downfield and just go haymaker for haymaker.
Listen, we just want to remind people that, and we got the notice here in our chat room, that there are still great items still available in the auction. The link is right there. You can look through. We got trips. We got memorabilia. Remember, this is all for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation to help families and patients who are dealing with the financial crisis that comes along with it. Dan, I know everybody is sitting here and trying to put Tom Brady in perspective of what we're dealing with, and probably inarguable that it's the greatest team sport athlete that American sports has ever seen at this point. But as a guy who's played the position, to think at 43 years old, to think 10 Super Bowls, how difficult, how astounding is it as a guy who's been in the quarterback room, grinding, film every week, staying healthy, all the bumps and bruises, that firsthand perspective that only somebody like you could truly give us?
Yeah, I think the best way for me to phrase it, Tess, is with a guy that has the greatest and longest list of unimaginable accomplishments, what he's done this year is at the top. Like, I think what we've seen is Tom Brady 20 years ago made a life choice that he was going to, at the top of the life decision-making chart was going to be greatness or football or best ever. And every single decision that he made, the way he slept, the way he trained, the way he ate, the way he vacationed, the people he spent his time with, every decision was going to come with, is that helping me achieve that goal? If it did, he was going to do it. And if he did it, he wasn't going to do it. And I think that's why we're seeing at 43, I mean, he's quite literally slowed down the hands of time with the way those choices have added up. I mean, think about that. 20 years of choices paying dividends. Tom Brady was never great because of the physical. He never won all those Super Bowls and became the greatest ever because he was this talented guy. He became that because of the intellect, the athletic intelligence, the ability to take information, digest it, clear it out, and then apply it. And that's why he's been able to go from in a meeting room, these notebooks that loads of notes. He did this same thing for 20 years. That's why he's been able to transition into a new offense, because he can, declutter stuff, have the ability to look at it, kind of take the parts that he needs and places them where they at, and then has this incredible ability to apply it. And so what he's accomplished this year is the most impressive thing on a long list of impressive things for the man.
Dan, I brought this up with Boog earlier because, we both have spent a lot of time with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I remember spending time with him doing his last bowl game of college when he was playing LSU, and then early on in his career, and then, his breakthrough moments as a starter on Monday Night Football, the left-handed pass, and all the meetings, and spending a week in Mexico with him last year. And I said to Boog, we always get the question, hey, what's he really like? What kind of a guy? And Boog answered that. Boog gave a thoughtful of what he feels the guy is really like. So let's do the other side of that with Tom Brady with you. You've been around Tom Brady. Listen, when I've had production meetings, or when I've sat, I was at McGregor fight a year and a half ago, and Tom and I were sitting there cage side, 2 seats away, right? And when you have those social moments with, I find the guy to be great to hang with. Like, I think he's great to talk to. He's a thoughtful listener. He's engaged. He's social. What kind of guy is Tom Brady when people ask you that? What do you say?
Yeah, I think Tom's got this, knack. Peyton Manning had it. Matthew Stafford had it. I'm assuming Patrick has it as well. He's got this knack where he's very aware of who he is. He knows he's the man. Like, he knows he's the greatest quarterback ever, the franchise face of New England, obviously Tampa Bay now. He knows that. But then he also knows he wants to be just a guy, and he wants everyone to feel that although he knows I am who I am, he wants you to feel like you're on the same page as him. You're at the same level as him. Like, he sometimes just wants to fit in to whatever the group is doing and have that endearing kind of lateral quality to him. And so, I think that's a separator for a lot of people that go on to accomplish some of those, high levels, is you got to know who you are, like, in that role when you're at the top. But to be great, you've got to have this ability to just fit in to so many different people groupings or individual relationships. And Tom has that. And like I said, Peyton and Matthew did as well.
Dan, you're very generous with your time for the folks here at the Connecticut Cancer Foundation. We appreciate you giving us a few more minutes. We're hoping to get Adam Schefter on here. But Dan, you're gold. You make broadcast gold. And we want to let you get back to your family. Anything else for the folks here in your great state, your hometown state, on this Zoom-tacular as they're donating to the Cancer Foundation you want to share with them?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I go back, almost 20 years now, and having so many people within the state support me. So many people would, come up to me at football games or after UConn games, and people still nowadays, come up and mention high school and UConn. And so I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for the people that reach out on social media and still rep, the good old days of UConn football and whatnot. So, I just, I'll share a little bit of a personal stories, Tess. And I know people are on here and they're hearing a lot of stories of, disheartening stuff, and difficult stuff. I've got a buddy, a good friend of mine, in April called me, and we'd vacation with them. So they're family like that. And he called me and he said, I need to talk with you, this and that. Long story short, his daughter was diagnosed with DIPG, which is a form of childhood cancer. That's basically, it hasn't lost. Let me put it that way.
Gotcha.
And, when I had that phone call with him, his daughter's 4, my daughter's 5. I looked at my daughter like, oh my gosh. And he's crying on the phone with me and this and that. So we get, conversations and whatnot. How can we help, this and that? And, almost a year later now, through the help of a lot of people and a lot of grants from people who have donated money and programs and trials, they're going to take their daughter in a week to Disney World.
That's wonderful.
Months, so, just a personal story about, how the people who are listening, that stuff might not impact you, obviously, hopefully, but it's impacting somebody. And then therefore you're a special person if you do so.
Dan, thank you for sharing that. And man, always great to visit with you. That's Dan Orlowski, everybody. joining us here on the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. Dan, have a great night.
Yes, thanks, buddy. You're the best.
Okay. That is Dan Orlovsky. And now, right on cue, is the one and only Adam Schefter. Let's bring in Shefty to wrap up our show. The ultimate insider. And it is his time of the year, usually with 2 cell phones glued to his ear. Shefty, how are you?
Joe, it is great to see you. Great to be with everybody. And I love the fire in the background.
Here's the fire that we want. We want the heat on a Super Bowl prediction from Adam Schefter for everybody here on the Connecticut Cancer Foundation's Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. What do you got, Shefty? What's your Super Bowl prediction?
Well, you want me to tell you who the winner is, Joe? Let me say this. I am a reporter, not a prognosticator. If I told you
here on a private Zoom to raise money for cancer, you can be a prognosticator.
Well, let me say this. If I tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, Joe, you should run to the bank and bet your mortgage on the Tampa Buccaneers. Okay, that's what I would tell you. I think that the Chiefs are going to be awfully difficult to beat. And I think in my head, I think the Chiefs win the game. But I would just say this. The Buccaneers won 3 road games. 3 road games. They won in Washington. They beat Drew Brees in New Orleans. They beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And now they're being asked to win a home game when they're in their home locker room. And they've got a number of advantages. And to pick against Tom Brady, a fellow Michigan man, is blasphemous almost.
Yes, you mentioned the 3 road games. Only the 5th team to ever do that to make it to the Super Bowl. And, of course, the first team to be playing on their home turf. Listen, you've been doing this for a long time. You and I have been on the road together doing this for a long time. And next week's going to be next week's going to be very different. Next week's going to be very, very different, though. This isn't normal Super Bowl week. What kind of impact do you think that has on things, Shefty, in terms of the game?
Well, it's hard to say, Joe, because we've never been in a situation like this. Think about this. The Kansas City Chiefs are flying into Tampa Saturday, the day before. It's a road game. Ordinarily, the teams in the Super Bowl would fly in the Sunday before the Sunday game, 7-8 days in advance. Now the Chiefs are treating this just like a road game. So they're going to go in 24 hours in advance, go to the stadium, play the game, and go back to Kansas City. We don't even know. Whereas in other years, teams have held post-game parties in hotels in those cities. The Chiefs may play the game and literally go from the stadium to the airport back to Kansas City because of the COVID times we're living in. I mean, it's just, it's so different. I'll also say this, as somebody pointed out to me today. Again, Bruce Arians and Andy Reid have been great coaches for a long time, and they're both set up to coach for a while longer. Like Bruce Arians has said, I want to coach Tom Brady next year, and Andy Reid, why would you leave? But this year has been so draining, and everybody involved, the coaches in particular, and they're older. And I've had people say to me, they're wondering, the man who wins this game, will he walk? Will he walk from the game after the game? And again, they both have said they want to continue coaching, but I understand the point that is being raised to me.
I do too. And Shefty, as 2 guys who work the football season under these circumstances, I just got done being on the road, 3 tests a week, quarantining. Mentally taxing. Everybody who gets to the end of this football season during the COVID protocols is just exhausted, mentally taxing. So everybody's got to decompress. You come off of it. I know everybody's been through a lot this year, but what has been asked of coaches and players and the constant testing and the quarantines, it has been a lot. And then you play this deep into obviously all the way to the Super Bowl. You can understand where you're coming from in saying that. Yeah. Hey, this is special for folks who have joined us. They're giving money. This is a Zoom-tacular for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation. What I like is access. They got access to Rex Ryan. They got to hang out with Boog as he's driving in his car, get a sense of place there. Dan Orlovsky showing around his office. But there you are in your beautiful home in Long Island, I assume, before you head down to Tampa. Give people a glimpse of your life, of what it's like from start to finish, what next week is going to be like. Take us behind the scenes of the life of Shefty.
Well, let me say this, Joe. A couple of things there. First of all, I am not going to Tampa. First time.
Okay.
Almost 30 years.
Wow.
My boss, Seth Markman, called me and said, do you want to go to the Super Bowl? And I said to him, if you want me there, I will be there. And if you don't want me there, I don't have to go. Whatever you want me to do, you tell me. I work for you. And he said, well, we're trying to reduce the number of people that go. There's no need for everybody to be there. Stay home. And I've done shows out of my house all year long. So we do Sunday Countdown. And if you had said to me at the beginning of the year, you'll be doing it from your home office, Sunday Countdown. Whereas one of the best parts of all this is the camaraderie you have with everybody after the show. You're around people, your friends, and then you watch the games together and you eat together, you laugh, you joke. There's nobody funnier than Chris Mortensen in those settings. He's hysterical. And this year, that camaraderie consists of being on group text chains. So
Right.
Super Bowl week in Tampa, I will be right where I am right now in this house where my family and I just got 2 new puppies. We're up to 5 Labradoodles. We have 5 Labradoodles. Okay. So anytime you hear barking during a shot, you'll know that it's them.
See, that's even better inside access. Now we know that the Schefter family has 5 Labradoodles. That's real. That's
here,
what you get here on the Zoom-tacular.
I'm going to introduce you to some of the dogs.
Yes, please. Okay? Show the people. These are Adam Schefter's dogs, folks.
That's Benny. That's Benny.
Wow.
Say hello. Benny, say hello to Joe. Okay, hold on. We're going to show you Bailey. That's Bailey. Bailey, say hello to Joe. There's Ella right there. That's the oldest one we have.
How about the poof on Ella?
And where are the pups? And the 2 puppies, the 2 new puppies. Oh, they're right here. They're sleeping. Leave them, Del.
Oh,
there's Brick.
Look at this. Look at that. Folks, this is what we promised you. This is what we promised you now. If you can finish a show with puppies, you're winning.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, Joe, it's a dog's life, okay? And this is, I work dog days in the truest sense of the word, okay? These are the dog days of the football season.
Shefty, you just stole the show. You brought puppies onto the Zoom-tacular. You just won. That's the great Adam Schefter. You heard the prediction. Hey, have a great Super Bowl week at home with the cell phones, with the live shots. We'll be watching all week long.
Joe, is that your house?
This is the home. This is the home in Connecticut. This is the home right here.
That looks beautiful. Now I know why so many people
green screen. This is just the master bedroom green screen. Don't you worry about that.
That's why I know so many people have flocked there through the years, and I look forward to the time that I can get up to the Tessitore abode and break bread and drink wine with the Tessitore.
Anytime you want. Anytime you want, my friend.
Hey,
great visiting with you.
Everybody for joining this, for donating to a great cause. Everybody has been touched by the disease. Everybody. And so every dollar raised here is incredibly important. And I want to thank everybody out there for their support. And I want to thank you for giving me the honor of joining everybody this evening. My daughter has Apple. And there's the other one right there.
Oh, look at Apple.
That's Apple.
Look at Apple. Is there anything better than a puppy? Shefty, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That is Adam Schefter, everybody. What a way to finish things up here on a night where we're raising a lot of money for the Connecticut Cancer Foundation here on our pre-Super Bowl Zoom-tacular. And before we say goodbye, folks, it is my pleasure to introduce the founders of the CCF, Jane and John Ellis.
Will and Jane? Oh. Start your video.
Yeah. Hi there, Joe.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Joe, we've done a lot of the great events, but this happens to be one of the greatest ever. I had so much fun tonight listening to all the guys, and your questions made my night. It really did. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. And listen, first of all, congratulations on everything you've done through the years. You really make a difference in people's lives. I sit back and, I prepare to do something like this, and I'm just in awe of what you've been able to do and for how many years you've been able to do it. When you think 7,800 families affected through the years, 7,800 families who you help them, not in a small way, in a big way. And not just the money that you raise for cancer research, but really reaching out a hand when people are hurting the most. So on behalf of everybody, we thank you. Do you have any final message you want to share with everybody who was able to join us tonight and support the foundation?
We do, thank you. We'll just take a few minutes. John, you want to start?
Well, I've always believed that great people, great organizations find great people. We have some of the greatest board members ever, Joe. Our great friend, the great former ESPN Monday Night Football producer, Emmy Award-winning guy, belongs in the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned, brought all of you together tonight to make one of the greatest Connecticut Cancer Foundation events ever. So we want to thank John, Chris, and Booger, who have done some fundraising for us before and awareness. We thank all of them. Joe, you are my main man now, my main Connecticut man. You are not getting away from me, pal. So I want to thank you, Rex, Adam, of course, and Dan from Connecticut. On behalf of all the board of directors, I can't thank you guys enough. Our sponsors who are always there with us, we thank them as well. Joe, thank you. Janie?
Yeah, hi, everyone. I just want to take a few more minutes. I know you've gone for a while, but what a great show. Really, I would say our Zoom-tacular was spectacular. Thank you to everyone. I don't even think we missed all those old Major League Baseball players. So again, thank you to Jay and Alexis and all of our guests. Your goodness will be rewarded from cancer patients, that's for sure. I want to thank all of our sponsors for their patience and their understanding that we had to cancel our 2021 celebrity dinner at Mohegan Sun. I know everyone was disappointed, but hopefully you all enjoyed the show as much as I did this evening. I miss seeing everyone and giving them a big hug and a big thank you in person, but we'll see you next year. And but one thing I want to let everyone know, I was so inspired this year throughout the year that we received donations and support in a really tough year. And we were fortunate in that we got in our 2020 celebrity dinner back in February, just before everything shut down. But another bright spot that we had in November was our No Shave November CT, where we had 65 police departments from across the state. Our new sponsor, Edgewell Personal Care, through their Schick company. Many other generous sponsors, companies, schools and universities and individuals who participated to raise almost $250,000 for Connecticut cancer patients. And in particular, our 3 ambassador families who were really, really struggling, 3 children battling cancer. One of the families was homeless and we were able to help them secure a new home for them and cover their cost of their rent and some daily expenses for the next 6 months. So that's the good that came out of that fundraiser. And I'm so excited to look forward to next November when I think it's going to be bigger and better. And I hope all of you will join in participating. As we made our way through 2020 and into the promise of a new year, I want to leave you with one last thing that I learned over the last 33 years. While we all know that medical expertise is a key part of cancer treatment, what I do know for sure is that it will not be enough. We need, with a vicious financial side effect that comes with a cancer diagnosis, it will take the support of family, friends, and all of you out there, our community, to get through it successfully. So I appeal to your compassion this evening to make a donation, big or small, whatever you can do, to help Connecticut cancer patients, those people in your own backyard, and help us keep the foundation strong and inspired so that we can continue to send out checks weekly to Connecticut cancer patients. And I thank you, Joe, because you really made my job tonight easy. You so beautifully articulated why people should donate and help our fellow citizens that live in Connecticut. So thank you so much. Until we meet again, be well, be safe. We love you. And good night from the Ellises. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well said. God bless. We'll see you next year, everybody. Thanks for your support. Good night, everybody.
Bye. So